Hey there, and welcome back to Pest Control Legends. I'm your host, Dan Leibrandt. Today, I'm joined by Jared LaJaunie, the founder and CEO of LeJaunie's Pest Control, one of the most impressive regional pest control companies in the Gulf Coast. Jared built LeJaunie's Pest Control from the ground up into a multi-location operation with dozens of trucks, a large team, and over 8 figures in annual revenue. He's grown through a mix of old school grit and modern systems, including EOS, strong leadership development, and smart acquisitions. In this episode, we're going to break down how Jared scaled his business, what actually moves the needle when you're trying to grow past the early stages, and what the next chapter looks like as he pushes toward even bigger goals. Now, without further ado, Jared, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Danny. I appreciate it. That was a very amazing intro. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Yeah, I think me and you met at Pest World this year. I don't even know if we were in touch before that. So that was just a few months ago. It was really cool talking with you at the Pest World house. I think maybe we spent an hour or so talking. It was really
Sure.
cool learning about your journey. And I knew I had to have you on the podcast at some point, so I'm glad I finally got you here.
I'm honored to be here, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, man.
You know,
So for people
not
that don't know,
not to do too much, but everybody I met, you really did stand out in my mind too, man. Just the conversation we had that night, I could tell that you were going to do big things, man. So
thank you, man. Well, I really appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you.
no doubt.
So cool. Jared, for people that don't know you, can you explain how you got into pest control and how you ended up starting this business?
Yeah, man. My path into it was very traditional. I got into it the way I think most people get into it. I might have got into it a little earlier and stayed in a little longer than most. But I was 19 years old and I was married and had my first child and had a house at 19 and needed a job. And I got hired on at Orkin when I was 19 as a termite technician for $10 an hour. And I was excited about making that $10 an hour, you
Yeah.
know? And just stayed with Orkin for about 8 years, did all the different positions, became a pest control tech, then a salesman, sales manager, ultimately a service manager and a branch manager, and just kind of went through the ranks. And I left them and took over another small company for about a year or two. I was doing about 2 or 3 million, well, 3 million when I left in revenue. And then in January 1st, 2008, I cashed in my 401k I'd been saving up at Orkin, and I bought a truck and some products, and we got to it, man. So
Hmm.
that's what helped.
What made you start your own company?
I always kind of thought about it, but if I'm going to be very transparent, man, um, I was having because I had a good job being a leader of that other company. I enjoyed it. They paid me well, and I was secure. But it was a small family company, and there was a son-in-law that worked in that company that I was really having a lot of trouble getting along with. And I went to the owner of that company and was like, man, I'm really having issues here. We need to do something. And anyway, nothing happened there. And so instead of jumping ship to another company or doing something else with that uncomfortable situation there, I just decided to go out on my own, which, like anybody that's ever done it, it's scary because you go from making a good paycheck and being comfortable as a leader of an organization to literally making no money and really grinding it out hard. But yeah, so it was almost like just, it was either work for somebody else for the rest of my life or take the chance and take the risk and build my own thing. And although it was difficult in the beginning, no regrets on it. And I'm even thankful for the conflict I had with that son-in-law, because without it, I may have sat right where I was at forever.
Hmm. Yeah. No, that's been a recurring theme in my life. Kind of what you're hinting at is like, everything happens for a reason, even things that are super difficult. And, that experience of not having a good relationship with that guy and whatever
Yeah.
happened there, it actually turned out for you to, own this awesome, huge business. So it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out, man. It's worked out pretty good. It's worked out better than I ever could have dreamed that it would have.
Yeah, definitely. So talk to me about those early days. I mean, when you were just getting started those first few years and then up to maybe like a million or so. What was it like and how did you grow?
Yeah, so it took me 9 years to get to a million, right? So I was a slow learner. I know some companies that do that in 2 or 3 years today, but it took me 9 years. But in the beginning, I did have what I feel is an advantage. It was the 2008, and so most of the world had adapted to technology pretty good. But I started in a very rural tertiary market where I was living at, and my local competitors, at least as the big guys are doing, but my smaller competitors were not utilizing technology at all. They didn't have websites. They were still doing yellow pages. They wasn't on social media at all. So in the very early days, I was able to leverage Facebook tremendously. Nobody else had it or was using it. And then also I had a website and was doing some digital advertising. And probably for the first 2 or 3 years I was in business in that small local market, nobody else was doing it. So it let me grab a lot of market share really early. And then in the early years, I really focused in hard on the pre-treat market as well. It's a law in Louisiana that you have to pre-treat a slab for termites where you can build a house. So every house built has to have it done. You don't have a choice. And so I would literally just ride by wherever I seen a house being built, stop. I would call all the contractors and really solicit hard on that pre-treat service and basically give it away for free. Not for free, but break even, just to build my recurring revenue on the back end, have the opportunity to sell to homeowner pest control, and then build my termite renewals. And we did that, man, and we just kept trucking, did door hanging, door knocking, but not with a team. I just kind of did it myself. I had some early experience at Orkin with a door knocking team called Splat way back in the day. So I was pretty good at door knocking. So I did that just myself to get started. And yeah, man, just slowly added people, went through the ranks to where, I started as a tech, then I hired an office manager, then I moved full time into sales and just kind of kept elevating myself as we grew. And we got to 1 million after 9 years, doing that. And then at about $1 million, I joined a mastermind group. It was with Donnie Shelton of Triangle Pest Control and some other guys, but Donnie was a real mentor to me in that mastermind group. And we'd fly, I think, every 6 months to North Carolina. And we got in this mastermind group around some companies that were just doing much better than me, and just soaked it up, man. And from there, we just really started implementing a lot of the things we were learning from that mastermind. And it took us 9 years to go to 1 million, and we're 18 years in now. We're going to finish around 12 or 13 this year. So we grew faster in the last, 7 years than we did the first seven by huge multiples. So like I like to say, it took me a while to figure it out, but once I figured it out, we ran with it pretty quick.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like that's the case with most businesses. It's like it's going to be really slow and painful in the beginning, but as you start to build up, get your footing. If you just stay in it, you stay consistent, you keep,
Yeah.
continue to get better. It's just kind of a matter of time before you figure it out and really start to hit big numbers.
My father-in-law, when I first started, it's simple advice, but I was like, man, I'm wanting this business. I'm kind of nervous when you go into business. And I was young, and he told me, he said, Jared, just the one that stays in it the longest is the one that wins. And man, that
Yeah.
turned out to be true. Just when it's hard and it's difficult and you can't see a way and you're going to hit all kind of obstacles, especially in the early days, and even now we still have all kind of problems and obstacles. But the name of the game is just staying in it long enough, and if you could just persist through the challenges and the hard times and just stay at it long enough, eventually you will find success, man. It's not a
Yeah,
it's not a secret, but it's hard to do. Easy to say, hard to do.
absolutely. So with that mastermind that was super pivotal, I mean, what did you learn? What were some of the big takeaways?
So in that mastermind, we learned about having an inside sales team and selling pest control over the phone, which is something we were not doing before. We learned a lot of techniques about building a sales funnel and really utilizing digital sales. We learned a lot about building systems. We didn't have a lot of systems before. I was kind of just winging a lot of things. So we built a lot of systems. We learned about tracking KPIs and data and making decisions off of data versus just what I felt like doing at the time, you know,
Yeah.
and just really just a lot of stuff, man. And then a lot of stuff they were doing different. Like we were one of the first, not the first companies, but it's super popular now. But back then, just a few of us were doing it. we switched. Everybody back in the day, I don't know if you remember, Danny, but pest control a long time ago, and I'm kind of aging myself, was done monthly. It was a monthly service, and that was it, and that's how you did it. So we switched to quarterly and monthly auto pay before it was cool. If you know what I mean. Everybody does it
Yeah.
now, but we were doing it, a long time ago. We were doing it. We learned that in that mastermind. And that was huge for cash flow to switch that quarterly model. It's much more profitable. And then, we won't take a customer now unless they put a credit card on file and auto pay. And we give them the option to do that on the 1st or the 15th. And that changed our whole business, that one decision, because it just helped with cash flow. That mastermind really helped my mindset too. We hear it all the time, but it made me believe that more was possible. And I saw some people in the group doing big things and were just killing it. So it just gave me more confidence and the vision to know it was possible, you know. And then also, I was still at $1 million. I was very much still a technician. I was still running a route. I was still doing all the sales, just like everybody, doing all the things, answering the phone. And that mastermind really got me thinking about, moving out of the field and becoming more of a business owner and an operator than just a technician. And so just all those things put together, I was able to just really grasp it, and we were really able to take off from that point.
Mm. So for you specifically, I mean, what made that mentality switch? Was it just hanging out with other guys that were more of an owner mentality?
Yeah. I was kind of in a bubble down here in South Louisiana, and I was in a small town. We just had one branch, and it was in Thibodeau. I love Thibodeau. That's where I'm from. But we were kind of just in a bubble, and we kind of would just was doing what I knew to do, what everybody else had been doing for 30 and 40 years, and just kind of plugging away at the old pest control model. And just flying out of state like that and being willing to go and get around people that were doing things different, learning things different, and being around those people. They say the 3 things that will impact your life the most is who you marry, where you live, and who you hang around. And I
Mm.
think that's true. And so I stayed married, so that's huge. 28 years. I moved to New Orleans, and I changed who I was hanging around. I started hanging around only entrepreneurs that were doing big things. Like my whole circle today is just all that. Most everybody in my close circle are business owners that are doing things, most of them bigger than me, you know?
Mm.
And so I'm always inspired and learning.
Mm. Yeah, that's a really good takeaway because I feel like um you along with a lot of other owners, I mean, you just know the people in your small local town, and
Yeah.
maybe some of them are entrepreneurial. They're trying to start a business, but they're not usually successful. So you usually do have to join some kind of mastermind and just get in rooms, just even be introduced to some of these people.
Exactly, man. It could be a mastermind, or it could just be, at Pest World, what we experienced at Pest World. Shout out to Alan Draper putting out that it was Pest House. I mean, what we spent 3 or 4 hours there, I think, one evening, and I learned more in those 4 hours around those group of people than anything else that I learned at Pest World. That was the most valuable part of my whole trip, was being around those people that were handpicked to be in that house. I mean, everybody in there was just the energy. They had some young folks just starting, and their energy was contagious, and they had some smart ideas. I met you. You were amazing, and just all the people in there, and everybody was throwing around ideals and kind of spitballing, and this is working and that's not working. That was super valuable, man. And just, but it took me spending my money, getting on a plane, flying to Orlando, and then being willing to go in a house around a bunch of people I didn't know, to have that experience. And it was amazing.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's funny because the first time I went to Pest World was just Pest World 2024, and I spent basically the whole time there going to all the sessions and trying to, trying to see as many speakers as possible.
You were bored out your mind, right?
Yeah, I was bored and I didn't learn much.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
you're
no,
exactly
exactly.
veteran, those sessions kind of get a little boring.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Like one or two of them were really good, but on the most part, you have to be cautious of the ones you're going to. But this time, I didn't go to a single session. I got way more value just because I was around the right people like you. So No, I totally agree. It's much more about the people than, just trying to jam in as many sessions or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Danny.
And you also mentioned in that mastermind systems. What kinds of systems did you implement and that helped out?
Oh man, just basic stuff that we wasn't doing, that we were not doing before. Just we got bills.com, we got a system for how we did our accounts payable. We switched to biweekly payroll versus weekly. I learned that. We got some SOPs in place and a training system in place and a exact way that we hire and exactly how we fire, and had systems. Every single service that we did, we videoed and trained on it, and we were doing none of that stuff before. I know it sounds crazy, but for a long time we'd hire somebody, put them in a truck with me or somebody else for 2 weeks and say, okay, go kill bugs, man, and then be upset when they didn't work out or they didn't do a good job, right? Like,
Mm,
oh, why you did something so stupid? Well, because we put you in a truck for 2 weeks and cut you loose and you never done it before. That's why you're doing stupid stuff. I mean, at the end of
mm,
the day, I was stupid for thinking that would work. But it's what was done to me, when we start, they put me in a truck for 2 weeks and cut me loose, and I made it, you know. So I just thought, this is what we're going to do. But no, you have to have so much more. You have to really, now today, and I still think it's a quick turnaround from the time we hire. It's about a month, and then even after that, we continue to have ongoing training.
hmm. Yeah, talk to me about your hiring process and how that's evolved.
So now today, it's they have to go through HR first, then they have to get to my operations manager, and then ultimately me and Sky will interview most people. Not all the time. Sometimes our operations manager will hire them, but we are checking references, we are checking credit scores, we are doing the DISC personality tests, we are doing multiple interviews, and even with all that, uh, I think it's a 50-50 on the hiring, right? And I don't think there's a more important thing than who you hire for your company. That's one of the biggest things that's going to make you successful or unsuccessful. But you could do all the stuffs, all the systems, and you still only got about a 50-50 shot of them working out. So what we'll do
Mm,
now, a lot of times, is if we have a position open that we need, we'll hire two people for that same position, even though we only need one. And most of the time, both of them do not work. And if they both do work out, great. But it's rarely that both work out, and if they do, we just find a place for them because now we got two great people. We're always needing more people. And
mm.
that's how we do it now.
Interesting. So, is there any reason why people don't work out or do work out?
I mean, it's a multitude of reasons, Danny. But I mean, either at the end of the day, either we don't like them or they don't like us. And I say don't if they don't like, I mean, either they get into it and they find it's just not for them, or we find out they're not for us. And we're
Mm,
pretty good about, not keeping the wrong people too long. That was a personal weakness for me in the early days, is I would really keep the wrong people too long. And I paid some heavy prices in the early days for that, loyal to a fault, even though people were not executing any way, shape, or form like they should be. I made the mistake most young entrepreneurs make. I hired my family and friends and was super loyal, and some of them super sucked, you know?
mm,
So today we're really much better, not better, we're excellent at vetting, the talent that we have, and either investing into them and helping them grow, or very quickly getting them off our team if they're not a fit. And we usually know within that first month if they're a fit or not. And if they're not, we don't talk about it, we don't think about it, we don't placate, we fire them. We just do it. We move on and we get somebody else. And that's what we do.
got it. Makes sense. And related to masterminds, which we were talking about the mastermind that you joined, but I
Yeah.
also know that you have a mastermind yourself called the Eagle's Nest. So, can you quickly explain what that is and what you do?
Yeah, sure, man. I got so much benefit and it changed my life so much that we wanted to give back and help other people have the same experience. So my wife and Maria Sorrentino started a mastermind group called Eagle's Nest, and the goal there is to have 100 joyful entrepreneurs. That's kind of their motto. And basically every month we have about 7 or 8 people that fly down to New Orleans, and we rent a big, beautiful house. We bring in a private chef, and we get in a room and we mastermind. And that includes looking over numbers. That includes teaching people how to look at their data and their KPIs. We do a lot of work around mindset stuff. And then just the question you asked me, what everybody wants to know, how do we grow? How do we be more profitable? What are you doing? What tools are you using? What AI are you using? What software are you using? How are you hiring? I mean, we get into every detail of the businesses, and then we're big on holding people accountable. They do a monthly call like this with the group every month, and they people set goals, and then we're really big about holding people accountable to those goals. And if they don't hit them, really working out with them. Okay, why didn't you? What didn't work, and what can we do to help you hit that goal that you set for yourself? And we're just having fun with it, man. We feel like we're giving back, and the same thing that helped us. And we've had a lot of success stories come out of it. It's people that come in and really grasp everything that's going on in those groups and are able to grow their companies tremendously. And it's just fun. It's just fun, and it's exciting. And I enjoy it, but more than anything, I enjoy watching people get it. And you can kind of see when they get it. They're kind of almost like a light bulb, like their eyes light up or something, and then you meet them a year or 2 years later, 6 months later, and they've grown 20%, 30% just from clicking a few little things in their business. And man, it's just exciting. It's like a party. They come back and they're like, man, we did this thing and we grew 30%. And I'm like, yeah, let's go out in the city and celebrate it. And we do. And it's
Yeah.
amazing. It's fun.
Yeah, no, that's so awesome. And it's super impressive that you have over 100 people in there now. And I wanted to ask around that. And you actually told me that this is the case before the call, that most of the people in your mastermind run into a lot of the same problems. So what are the
Yeah.
problems that most people are dealing with?
So most of it, man, the biggest problems, if you get to $1 million or even $500,000 or even $100,000, you're a single operator in pest control. You kind of, you know what you're doing. You know how to kill bugs, man. You know how to do the chemical. You know your bugs. Almost all of us are amazing techs, right? So most of the problems I see everybody having are similar but different. So it really all boils down to mindset, and we see the same mindset challenges, and that's where most of the magic comes from. And to give you an example, most people, in the beginning, and we talked about it, but it's really a big one, they just see themselves as a technician, and they take a lot of pride, and they should take a lot of pride on the technical side of things. They'll be like, I'm the best bug killer that there is, and I can't get off a route because nobody else can run a route the way that I can run a route. I'm the best. And so I
Mhm.
can't get off a route. I just have to stay, because if I get somebody else to run a route, they're not as good as me, and I'm going to lose all my customers. Bullshit. I mean, bullshit, man. You might be really good at what you do. And yes, it may be true that if you get somebody else on a route, they may not do it as good as you. But are you just saying that you're going to run a route forever and you're not willing to grow, and you can't train somebody, and you're not willing to grow beyond yourself and trust other people? That's difficult, but you have to do it to progress, right? So we deal with that a lot. It's a big mindset shift. It's very difficult, right? And then a lot of people, and I dealt with this in my own career, and I can speak on it, just don't believe in themselves enough. And so when you just get them believing, hey, you know what? You can own and have and operate a $10 million company. You can. You really can. And you'll literally see them be like, oh no, man, if I get to 3 million, I'll be happy, and and that'll be great. And I don't even want to do anything more than 3 million. I'll just be so happy if I get to 3 million. I just can't even conceive, nor do I want to even have a $10 million company. Bullshit. You do want to have a $10 million
Yeah.
company. You just don't believe in yourself enough, or you don't have enough self-worth in yourself to believe that you even deserve to have a $10 million company. And so we work around a lot about, you do deserve to have it. You can do it. And you just need to believe in yourself and be willing to do the things that it takes to get there. So that's just two examples, man, of the reoccurring problems. And there's three or four, and there's always different issues. And of course, we get into the practical application of data and how to look at your numbers, and we get into all of that stuff. But most people really know all that stuff, they either are just not doing implementation or execution well. And so you kind of know what to do. So we just hold them accountable to the execution a lot of times of what they already know to do, right? Just
Mm.
get it done. And then a lot of the other work we do that really helps people is literally just around the mindset and the way they see, feel, and think about their business and their problems. And when we can get them thinking and seeing a different way, it's like magic happens, man. They go back into their business and they do things that they wasn't doing before. Like one example, I can't use names, but I had a guy that was like, man, I just hate selling. I feel icky when I sell, like a car salesman. He said, the phone rings, I don't even want to answer it. I don't want to sell anymore. I'm just not enjoying my business. And we're able to work with him and get him to understand that you're not a salesman, you're a consultant, and you're doing a service to the people, and you have a unique way of selling. You are not a relationship guy, but you're a data-driven salesman. And once he started like going through what his company does and different, and not trying to be a relational salesman, and changing his mindset around how he sells, he went back into his company, sold $20,000 in a week, man.
Wow.
And that was just from one weekend of working with him on just the sales process and mindset around sales. And that kind of stuff makes me excited, because I know as he continues that path, that's going to change his life, his kid's life, his whole future will change just around that one shift of the way he was seeing and feeling about things. And I'm getting a little excited because I am excited. I'm passionate about it because I just love seeing people have that kind of success, man. It's so amazing.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. And it's funny because like the mindset stuff, I feel like everyone's heard it, but it almost seems cliche or it doesn't actually work. But I think like at the very least, if you don't believe you can do something, then you can't do it. I think the belief needs to exist before doing it. If you want to build,
Yeah.
a billion-dollar company, I almost guarantee that all
Yeah.
people that have built a billion-dollar company believes that they could build a billion-dollar company. Maybe not everyone does, most of them won't, but I think that's like the prerequisite before making it happen, right?
Yeah. It happened to me, man. I had a point in my career where I went to a conference one time, and there was a guy talking that had $100 million company, and he had started on the same day, same time as me, was in business just as long as me, and didn't have any advantages that I didn't have. And I think at the time I was doing 6 or 7 million, and he was doing 100 million. And I got to talk to him after the conference, and we got to talking. And you know what the difference was between me and him? Is
Hmm.
that day one when he started, he had the mindset and the intention from the very first day and made all his decisions and all his actions and believed from day one that he was going to be $100 million company. Literally the day he started, he said, I'm going to have $100 million company. I believe I'm going to have $100 million company, and this is how I'm going to do it. And everything got filtered through that from day one. I started on day one and I was like, man, I'm going to pay this house note. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? How I'm gonna pay these bills and I'm gonna feed these kids. And if I just make, I remember telling my wife, I was like, man, if I could just sell, 100 customers at $20 a month, that's $2,000 a month. I will be okay. We'll be all right. I mean, that was my mindset, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so small. And then after talking to him and, today, I don't know, I believe I could have $100 million company. I believe that with my whole heart. I believe I'm worthy of having it. I believe I could do it. And I believe it's totally possible for me to do. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think you will too.
I
So,
don't know. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
yeah.
the confidence. Very, very few people do that, right? But
Hmm.
and I don't know if I will do it, but I believe that I can. And that's a big
Mm.
difference.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. So mindset is super important. That's like the core. If you don't have that, it's really hard to see any real growth or, obviously you have to set goals before you hit goals. And then let's cover some of those other kind of more technical or practical things. Like are people doing any I don't know, making any clear mistakes, whether it be on marketing or sales or
Yeah.
hiring?
One of the big things we keep seeing is most people do not know their numbers. They're not
Mm.
in touch with their finances. And not only are they not in touch with it, but they don't look at them on a regular basis. They don't have it in order. And they could be doing $1 million a year and not be making any money and not even know it, you
Hmm.
know? And so you wouldn't believe the revelation and the emotions that come out when some people, for the first time in months or even years, we make them really go over their numbers in detail and they really see it and we really get into the numbers. And then with everybody in the room, just from looking at those numbers and then P&Ls, there's some people that are super smart and talented with the numbers. They can look at those people's numbers and say, oh man, your payroll's high here, your chemical spends here. Oh, I can tell from the numbers you got this problem going on with your fuel. That's really high. And so they just start getting these revelations just from their numbers and get in touch with it. And then we get them on a system to where they're watching their numbers, they're monthly meeting with their accountant, and they're really in touch with that and making real decisions off of real solid numbers. And I know that
Mm.
sounds silly, but that one thing just makes a huge difference, you know?
Yeah,
And then
no, that is huge.
don't even have CRM, so they're still doing paper and pencil. We got to get them on CRMs, you know, and using the actual software. Or they live in a cold climate and they shut down during the winter. So we talk a lot around that and not to do that. And you can operate all winter long, even in the coldest of climates. There's a method to do so, and don't go hunting for 3 months out of the year, you know. And we work, and that's another mindset thing that we have to work around, but it's also very practical, right? We talk a lot about payroll and how to pay properly and what the proper pay is and the proper pay frequency. I mean, we get into every aspect of it, man. You know, what to charge is always a big one, right? It comes back to mindset again, but that's a big one. Nobody wants to raise their prices, right? So practically we'll lay out a plan with them of when to raise prices, what's the best time of year to raise prices, how much to raise prices, who do you raise prices on, but most of all, go home and raise your freaking prices
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form. We get a lot of resistance to that, a lot of fear around that one topic, right? Of raising your prices on customers.
Mm, definitely. Yeah, no, I've from talking extensively with Jonas and other high-level owners like yourself, I've realized that's literally the easiest way to grow is, you have an existing customer base, you just increase the prices. And, some people drop off, that's fine, but you're almost never going to lose money. You might lose work, but that will then be compensated with the higher prices that you have.
You got it, man. You said it. Just
Yeah.
don't be scared to do it. Just like Nike says, just do it. And what I've seen, I've experienced it for myself, and I've seen it over and over again with multiple entrepreneurs is, and I've experienced it for myself. You're scared, right? Because you're loyal to these customers. They help you build your company. They've been with you since day one. They're super loyal to you. Now you're servicing all their family members. They become like friends, and you feel some loyalty is one reason why you don't want to do it. Then there's the real fear that if I go up, oh, they'll cancel. The truth is, man, is you have to go up on your prices to remain relevant to give the best service to your customers, and they deserve that. So you're doing a favor for your customers so you continue to use the best products, hire the best people. And if you're the cheapest guy out there, you can't do that, right? And as far as the fear factor, I understand people being scared, but the numbers don't lie. And over, I've seen it in my own company and everybody that's done it. You do lose some customers, but not nearly as much as you think. And the added increase, just like you said, in the revenue from raising more than compensates for the customers that you lose. And usually the customers you lose are the ones you wanted to lose anyway. They were
Hmm.
usually the ones that caused you the most pain in the butt anyway, right? So yeah, raise your prices, man.
Definitely. Love that. And back to the numbers you were mentioning. So specifically, what numbers do people need to be looking at most often, and how often do they need to be looking at them?
I'm not the financial guy. My wife is in my company. Matter of fact, Eagles Nest is going on right now today, and I'm doing some other things just today because today is numbers day, and it's not my favorite day, so I skip out today on
Yeah.
that. And the rest of the weekend, I'll be very involved in it. But today I skipped out. But I mean, uh, profit, right? Are you making money? Are your numbers in line with industry averages of what everybody else is doing around the country? Um, and then it's the fuel, chemical, payroll. Are those numbers in line? How much are you spending on your software? Um, and then the other big one is this, and we see this a lot, is a lot of people mix their personal and their business together. So they use their business account to pay their personal cell phone bill. They use their business account to pay their personal truck note. You can definitely use your accounts when you travel and things, but they're using their business account to go on every vacation, and there wasn't nothing about pest control about that, you know?
Yeah.
And so, we really talk a lot about separating your business and personal and how that helps you keep clearer numbers, which can help you make better decisions, and really separating, having an account that's just business and just personal, and really keeping those two separate. We deal with that a lot. We see that often.
Got it. And I wanted to dive a little bit more into growth and like lead generation. So, Jared, in the past, I don't know, a few years or so, what's been working best for you in terms of lead generation? What have you been doing?
So it takes everything. First of all, there's no silver bullet, Danny. It takes everything coming together to have growth and generate leads. But I can tell you some of the things that we're doing. We're very heavy in the digital space. So we do a lot of pay per click. We do a lot of GLS. We do a lot of social media. I'm hoping to do more of that. Actually, I think we have an opportunity to really capitalize and do more in the social media space. We do mass mailers. We have billboards. We'll do like advertisements on YouTube. We have a whole inside sales team that cold calls. We have an outside sales team that goes out and actually gets business. They get leads, but they also solicit their own business and have their own pipelines rolling. We have, of course, all our vans and trucks wrapped and as rolling billboards. That's tremendous. If the guys out there, if you don't have your vehicles wrapped, do it. I know it can be expensive, but totally worth the investment. It totally comes back to you to have the vehicles wrapped. We're really big on having everybody in logoed uniforms, looking professional, and having a appearance of being professional, both in our vehicles and our technicians. Um, what else do we do, man? We do a lot of community outreach. So we got guys that work BNIs. We do a lot of things in the community to support different charities, and we cook and we do a lot of that kind of stuff. Public outreach. We try to be part of the communities that we're in. Um, yeah, all that. And all that comes together to make it work. Not one of those things by itself where you have success. You kind of got to do it all. But not to dodge the question, to answer it for you more directly, digital marketing is probably the biggest thing that we do that brings in most of our leads is our digital marketing.
Got it. Makes sense. Yeah, no, I totally get that. I hear that from a lot of 8 and 9 figure owners that there's not one silver bullet. I mean, maybe there's one silver bullet to get to maybe 500K or even a million, but once you start to grow and get to a larger size, you have to diversify where you're marketing. You just
Yeah,
can't max
it
out
takes
one thing.
everything. The bigger you get, the harder it is to get bigger.
Yeah,
You know? Yeah.
definitely. And one thing you mentioned there that I'm not as familiar with, and I'm curious what exactly you're doing around this. You mentioned that you have people doing cold calls. What cold calling are you doing?
Yeah. So in our inside team, when they have any downtime, we'll have them cold call various different lists. So like we may have them cold call pest control customers that don't have termite and offer termite, or vice versa. They have termite, not pest control. They'll call them and offer that. They'll cold call and offer a mosquito. Or we have some different ways of getting lists of the actual owners of restaurants or the managers of hotels, and they'll just cold call and try to set up appointments for our outside team to go out and meet with property managers or managers of the hotels or daycares or whatever, you name it. They'll try to set up appointments for our outside team. So we try not to have any downtime for our inside. We want them just selling and taking leads, but sometimes, like this time of year, there's some downtime. They're doing more cold calling and working lists and things like that.
Got it. Okay. So mainly working your existing list.
That's where most of the cold calling success comes from, but they'll just cold call random businesses too and try to set up appointments. That we've had some success with that as well.
Okay, cool. And one other thing I wanted to jump back to, you were mentioning this is one of the problems people are dealing with in your mastermind. They weren't busy during the winter and they maybe even totally shut down. So how do you stay busy in the winter season or off season?
Yeah. So again, a lot of that comes down to mindset and thinking they're not doing they can't do a good service in the winter, or they're doing a disservice to their customer, and there's no reason to spray in winter. Right, you do a lot of that, but ultimately, there's always something you could do in the winter. I mean, there may be days where you can't work, but you can keep your services year round. And it's a lot in switching them to quarterly, or in some markets, we even are a big proponent of triannual, right? Just go out 3 times a year. That's, if you could pull that off, super profitable. But anyway, just instead of spraying at every house, you could dust the weep holes, you can web brush, you're doing an inspection, you're doing something to bring some value to that customer still, and they're on auto pay, so you're getting paid anyway. You just show up, and depending on the weather, you can do something. You could do an inside service on the inside of the house that part of the year, especially if you're triannual. You can treat the attics that time of year, right? There's stuff you can do to continue to add value. And then ultimately, in a lot of winter markets, we'll talk to people about starting wildlife. You could do wildlife all year round. And so wildlife doesn't make sense for every company, for sure. Always in my own company, we have a pretty robust wildlife department. But I like to say it's 10% of my revenue and 90% of my headaches. Like wildlife, we could do a whole podcast just talking about the woes of wildlife. And so I'm very cautious to recommend it to people because it's definitely not for everybody. But if you're in a market where it snows and it's cold 4 or 5 months out of the year, absolutely get into wildlife to keep that cash flow and keep things going year round, and do what you need to do to learn it, become efficient in it, and go into wildlife, because at least you're generating money year round. Don't shut down for 4 months or 3 months. And we deal with that. People enjoy shutting down. They like that time of year not to do anything, but your business isn't going to grow, or it's not going to grow fast. You might like that time, but you're here telling me that you want to grow your company, but yet for 3 months out of the year, you're sitting home or you're going hunting. Ah,
Mm,
which one do you really want? What's the real truth, right? Because there's nothing wrong if that's what you really want. If you're okay with where your company's at, and you want to go hunt for 3 months out of the year, more power to you. But don't tell me you want your company to grow and you want to hunt for 3 months out of the year. One of them is a lie, right?
mm, yeah, no, definitely. We don't have to dive too much into it, but I mean, why is wildlife such a headache for you?
Uh, you know, I s it's just a much more technical service. It's harder to get and train people on that service. It's harder to train the sales process. And then just the expectations of what you can do on the wildlife side from the customer is more challenging. And the ticket price, is it can be a lot on wildlife. So if they have a rodent problem, sometimes, you go out, they spend a good bit, and you may have to go back out a second time and do something a little different, or maybe something you missed. And when customers are spending, sometimes $4 or $5,000, you know, they want a magic bullet. They want you to come out one time and they never want to see a mouse again. And I get that, because it is a lot of money and that's what we want too. But the truth is, wildlife, some of them animals are smart, and not every situation is the same. In pest control, you can kind of lay out a system and it's cookie cutter. You could do the same thing at every house the same time, just like McDonald's. You can get the same Big Mac at every McDonald's across the country. Wildlife, every single house and every single customer and every situation is unique and different, and it becomes extremely hard to make it a system and systematize it. You got to be able to adapt to do something different on every single account, and keeping that communication between the salesman and the tech and the customer, which every account being so unique, it can become challenging. You can
Mm,
do it, we do it, but it's not as easy as doing termite or pest control, where you just do A, B, C, D every stop. It'll work like this. This is the expectation. Wildlife's not like that.
mm, makes sense. So pest control is much more easy to systemize, whereas wildlife, and I've seen this talking to private equity guys too. They're always more interested in pest control than wildlife because pest control is recurring, it's easier, it's not as custom, all the reasons you've just mentioned.
Yeah, you can systematize. You can get systems in wildlife, and we do, but it definitely is more difficult. And there's more challenges. You're in attics, so we do a lot of attic restorations. Guys fall through attics and things. I mean, there's a lot more risk to it. You got guys on ladders and roofs, so your liability is a lot more. And then just a lot more training too. You know, we talked about earlier, you know, a month or 2 weeks, sometimes you cut guys loose in pest control and wildlife to get a tech really efficient and make sure they're doing everything and they're safe and they're not going to hurt themselves and they know what they're doing. You're looking at 6 months minimal, you know, minimal.
Dang.
And that's just you know, that's a hard commitment. And if people don't work out, you got to hire them and you got 6 months to train them. I mean, wildlife is a different animal. No pun.
Yeah. Different animal. That's yeah. Well, cool. Okay, that makes sense. Well, we'll start to wrap up the show here, Jared. I've got one final question for you here.
Sir.
What is your message? Or do you need to take that call?
I do not. No.
Okay, cool. My final question for you here is, what is your message to the pest control owners out there? What do you think they need to know? What do you want to tell them?
Man. First of all, congratulations on starting your own company. That was the hardest thing you're ever going to do. Congratulations. Don't quit. Stay doing it. It's going to be hard. It's supposed to be. If it was easy, every single person would do it. Whatever you think you can achieve, triple it today. You can do 3 times whatever you think you can. If your goal is to be $1 million company, I'm telling you right now, change it. Change your goal that you can be a $3 million company, because you can, right? Shoot for the stars, right? Believe that you can do it. And continue to grow yourself. Your company will never grow more than you're willing to grow yourself personally, right? And that's from your health. Make sure that I mean, we don't talk about it, but man, keep your health in line. Go to the gym, eat proper. You're the leader of men and you're leading people. It's your obligation to take care of yourself and be that leader. And the difference that'll make in growing your company, when you're clear-minded and you're healthy, it'll help you go a lot further, right? Work on your mindset, your personal well-being, self-growth. Me personally, I go to a lot of conferences. I got Tony Robbins' jacket on. I did Tony Robbins a while back. Love that guy, right? Go to Pest World. I do multiple conferences because I'm always trying to, I never want to get to a point where I'm not willing to learn and grow and be better. So always be trying to educate yourself and be better. Never get, no matter how big you get to a place where you're like, oh, I got it and I don't need to learn anything else. Be a constant student of the industry, always. Yeah, and other than that, I would just say, man, don't quit. Just keep at it and reach out to other people in the industry. This is one of the most kindest industries I've ever seen. People are willing to help you. You don't know how to do something, or you don't know how to, you have a problem with a thing. I promise you there's somebody out there that not only would help you, but would be absolutely thrilled to help you. Like, reach out, get around other entrepreneurs and other pest control guys that hopefully they're doing more than you and they can help you get to that next level.
That was so good. Well, thank you for coming on, Jared. This has been an awesome podcast. I really appreciate your time. I know how valuable it is. Where can people connect with you and find you online?
So Facebook, Jared LaJaunie. Yeah, my email, jaredthepestguy@gmail.com. And Google LeJaunie's. Just put in my name. I'll come up in all kind of places, and you could get in touch with me that way. Yeah, that's it, man.
Awesome. Cool. So definitely go make sure to follow Jared on Facebook. That link will be in the description. And anything else you'd like to plug or promote, Jared?
Eagle's Nest. If you looking for a group to plug into and try to become better, and you need some help growing your business, not even some help, I wouldn't even say help. If you just want to be inspired and work on some things, we'd love to have you in Eagle's Nest and help you. We truly do have a passion for helping entrepreneurs have success there.
Awesome. Is there a link for that?
It's eaglesnest.com, I believe. We'll bring you right to the website for it and everything. Yeah.
Awesome. So eaglesnest.com, if you guys are interested in the mastermind, that link will also be in the description. And cool. Thank you so much again for coming on, Jared. This has been awesome.
Thank you, Danny. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so very much.
Of course.